beginning of March. We got a brand new month, and we have a brand new guest that I'm really excited to talk to. Been wanting to talk to you for a long time, Paul. I've been a big admirer um, of everything you do. I read your book, and one of your books, a long, long time ago. Um, I love your Zen Bitch Slap channel, um, and you have a very unique take on sobriety. And the reason I named this live stream "The End of Self Improvement" is because I wanted to start off talking about the self that's always seeking to improve, the self that wants to be sober and recovered.
Yes.
Um, that's not the self. That's not the self that. The best way to put this. That's not the self that really, really can awaken. Um, it's the self that might quit drinking, but continues to suffer.
Well, remember, there is no self. There's selfing. That implies a self. So the head implies something, and then it presupposes it as a historical fact. So most people don't believe they're becoming a self. They're trying to get out of a self. And that's the drive. Yeah. And when there's a drive to get out of something you're not in, it doesn't work, obviously. Yes.
And I've heard you mention that's the real addiction, the addiction to selfing.
Yes, I would say that's the mental addiction to selfing. Yes, because the mentalness can imagine stuff, like it can make mountains out of molehills. Well, it can make a person out of nothing, really.
Wow.
So it uses the body to represent uh, the verification of its evidence, which is, confirmation bias, and off we go. Without knowing better, we're looking at life through a self-centered lens. Yeah, yeah, and
Um,
many of us get uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, and of course, we seek to get relief from it. And the problem itself probably dictates the solution, and then we enter an active stage of addiction for many. Yeah.
I've, I've heard you mention that in an interview once that you were an alcoholic before you even took a drink. That it was that uncomfortableness that you were trying to escape.
Well, yeah, I drank to get relief from alcoholism. Yes. Yeah. But I wasn't an alcoholic, actually. Well, of course there isn't one, but in further review, I realized I crossed the line at a certain point, because a lot of people are heavy users, and as it says in the book, a heavy user, if he or she has a sufficient enough reason to stop, they can stop. But then there's a line, an invisible one, but you'll sense it, where you've lost the ability to control the drinking or anything,
Right.
even though you didn't really have a control. And at that point, you enter what they call a real alcoholic or a real addict. Yeah, and that they felt that if that is the case, the only solution is what they would call a spiritual solution. Yeah, yeah. And in other words, working out, becoming better, and all like that's not going to work, because you're just attempting to work on the problem itself, obviously. And so the solution is a loss of interest in self. Yes.
Right.
And this idea of self, and self can't do that. The idea of self cannot lose interest in self. That would be interest. Yeah. So you getting caught in like a loop, and that to me is the bigger problem. Literally. It's a bondage of self, being sober or not. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
So
I think didn't Bill W. say that and we needed a spiritual epiphany? in order to truly recover. And that seems to have largely, maybe I'm mistaken, largely dropped away from modern recovery.
Well, they corrected that with the spiritual experience because they people were disqualifying themselves from relief because it wasn't a white light
Oh,
experience. So
right.
they corrected that because of how the head was going to use it to mislead you. Yes. So if I don't have a burning bush experience, then it's I'm not getting it, and that's burning bush experiences are not common experiences. So
Right.
yeah, the head would love to exclude you from the possibility of being sober
Um,
every chance it can get.
I think I heard you say before that you yourself were struck sober.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Well, I probably was struck sober many times, but I didn't it got it died on the vine. This one time, uh I was introduced to a way of life. Yeah. And that way of life has extended that miracle of being struck sober for 37 years now. So
Wow.
I needed a way of life here in this whole event, or it would have just, it would have been drowned in the bathtub, so to speak. Yeah.
Right.
So uh, something hit me. And then that night, looking for a place to stay, I had to make a commitment to a lady for that place to stay that night. And that was to go to an AA meeting. So she dropped me off at a men's meeting in San Francisco, and I've been sober ever since. Yeah,
You said 37 years.
yeah. In March 21st, I think 38 years or something, somewhere
Um,
around there.
it's been about 27 years for me now. Um,
Right.
and I didn't have wasn't struck sober, but I was struck in recovery, if that makes sense. I had a almost a I definitely had a light moment because I had sirens going on behind me. Um, but when I saw those sirens, I was struck with a realization that if I wanted to, I never had to take a drink again. And for whatever reason, it wasn't even a decision. I knew I was done. That uh, from that point on, alcohol had no place in my life, and it's been a it's been a joyful road of recovery for me because I haven't white knuckled it.
Yes, yes. Well, when you're convinced you're screwed to a certain point, you start going, maybe not enthusiastically, but you're willing. And yeah, the program works. It does. It can allow a transference of faith from the finite self into the what they call the infinite. Yeah, that's its job, having a spiritual awakening. The emphasis of your life has been shifted. Your camera location, which you couldn't do yourself, and then you see things different. Yeah, yeah.
Um, did you yourself have a white light moment, or
No, that was I'm completely fucked a moment. That's what I had. Yeah. So I was came out of a blackout in a in an I didn't know where I was. I started in San Francisco, but I looked out the window. I was in a trailer and there was a hang gliding park, and I know there was not a hang gliding airport in San Francisco. So, and I was sitting across from a guy I didn't know, just and we were passing a bottle of Royal Gate vodka, and I looked at him. He had a big head, varicose veins, all puffed up, and I said to myself, "This guy's a bum." And then lo and behold, I felt he was looking at me like I was a bum. And then that moment stalled everything. There was a pause, which is a very important event in recovery, PAUSE. Uh, there was a pause, and the screen went blank, which I didn't know would be possible. And then it came back on, and there was a big headline, no story, just a headline, and it was "I'm fucked," really, and that was the condition I was in currently, but there was always a denial of that, and at this point, uh, I think it went to somewhere other than my head, call it the innermost self. And the next statement underneath that was, "And I'm not managerial quality," and that was it. Yeah, I had all new thoughts came through. After that, I attempted to call the program I had been in like 10 months before for 2 years. And that started me on the road to being at a meeting that night. And that was that. Yeah.
Um, did you had anything in your life going on that would have led you in that direction? I mean,
No.
I know there's always that debate in non-duality that no amount of practice leads to an awakening. Um,
Oh, that's not
but then
duality.
some,
Yeah. We're talking about the action figure world. So the action figure world, uh, yes, living on a bottom for months was a very good, uh,
spiritual practice.
yeah, it was like a cattle prod. Yes, electrocuting me every day. So, but again, the head is quite adaptable, and so every bottom I hit, I basically moved in and lived under the suspicion I was going to be evicted, which I would be, and drop lower. And I just didn't know how low I could go, really. So I had been really demoralized. So the seemingly hopeless state of mind and body really seemingly appeared to be a very hopeless state of mind and body after this 2 year stint in a program, and then falling back into it. I was really demoralized, and I basically just accepted my fate, and just wanted to stay unconscious as much as possible until I went to jail again or institution or died. Yep, and yet life had a different plan and struck me, and then gave me the way the miracle could be extended, which was recovery. Yes, so yes. Here,
Sometimes,
miracles are possible all day, but they're difficult to take root because of uh, the momentum of this act of dreaming. So I needed a way of life. I wasn't for one, and I was brought to one, and I stayed. Yeah, so that's how it worked. And
sometimes I wonder if uh, thinking of ourselves as spiritual on a spiritual path, even after sobriety, keeps us from hitting a true rock bottom. Um,
it can, but thinking of yourself as spiritual obviously is a problem,
right.
because
But
what's thinking that is really the antithesis of spirit. Yeah, it's
so,
mental. The problem resides in the head. It resides there, so its activity spring from there, and that's the theater it uses the most, is the mental activity. So the alcoholism talks to you as if you, yeah, and when you're identified as it, uh, its manifestations in your life, you'll live under them as yours, and that's the bondage of it. Yeah. So you can't be free as a self. It doesn't work, but you can be free from it. So you can be free from the there's a word they use it. I'm really into page 53 and 54 on We Agnostics, because it talks about, if you don't mind, let me read it, all right? It's
sure.
This is a very interesting view they had in the book. So page 53, we're in We Agnostic, and let me see here. It's the bottom of page 53 to 54. So basically, they're trying to bend backwards to allow everyone or anyone to get into the program because they knew it worked. They had faith in the program. So they went to great lengths to make it okay. So if you have an idea of God, forget about it, just come in and everything like that. So he says here, let us think a little more closely. And this is the condition the parasite of alcoholism likes to keep you in, which is without knowing it. So without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith. So this is an incredible paragraph. So he's saying where you stood was you were brought here by a certain kind of faith, not by you, not by this, not by that, but by a force called faith. Yeah. And then he goes, or did we not believe in our own reasoning? So we've had great faith in the thought system. We've
Right.
listened to it. We've appointed it our GPS. It's led us. Yes, it we find refuge in, and it's so. Did we not have confidence in our ability to think? What was that but a sort of faith? Exactly. Yes, we had been faithful, abjectly faithful to the God of reason. Abjectly, one of the definitions is spiritless servility, a spiritless servility to the thoughts. This is the condition we find ourselves in. Yeah. What was that but a sort of faith? Yes, we had been faithful, abjectly faithful to the God of reason. And that goes to page 60 something, where it says, first things first, basically, you got to quit playing. Yeah, it doesn't work. That is the biggest non-step is first. In a program that's linear, first is more important than next. First
Right.
is quit playing God. Now, when I heard that, it felt like that's another order I'm not going to be able to fulfill.
I
Yeah,
was just thinking that.
I thought I was playing God, but after a couple of months of recovery, I saw it differently. And I saw that there's something that's playing God, but it's not me. And then I started to lose interest in it. And that's quitting playing God, is losing interest in it. Yeah. So here he goes. Yes, we have faithful, abjectly faithful to the God of reason. So, in one way or another, meaning always, we discovered that faith had been involved all the time, realizing that perhaps there's a better way. Yes, it's going to be trust, but what the trust is put in is going to be how it manifests. So we have lived a long period of time with trust in finite self, faith in finite self. We have been following, devoted to the thought in one's head. Yes. And what the program is going to do is allow a transfer of that faith to the infinite. That's the spiritual awakening. So, Bamo, tell the truth in the faith that has been had in the head. And then by telling the truth about that and doing what we do, you cannot transfer the faith, but there'll be a transferal of faith to the infinite. And that is the better way of recovery, I feel. And it's all driven by faith. And faith is going to manifest here by the vehicle it's put in. So I was in many, 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 many mental hells by faith in the thought system. Many, many. Yes. And now the faith is in a higher power, or whatever you want to call it. And instead of enslaving me during the day, it's enriching my day. But it's the same faith. It's what it has been put in. I could not change what it was put in. That would have been faith in self. If I
Right.
believe self could do it, that would be faith in self. Yes. And if you were that which playing God and you tried to quit playing God, that would be playing God. You can't get out of it. Yeah. But you're not that which is playing God. That's the message. Yes. Something's playing God on you, but you're not it. Yeah. And this, when you realize, let's say, a conversation in another room isn't about you, you drop interest immediately. You don't have to send Navy SEAL 16 to get the interest. it just leaves. Well, this is the process. All that you're interested in is because it's about you. If you see you're not the you that it's about, you lose it. And at that point, you start gaining interest in other perspectives. And they may be much more fulfilling than the draining interest in you all day. Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is but that's the recovery. For some people, the first thing first is you got to stop using and drinking. Yeah. And then basically after that, it's actually, do you want to just live not drinking, or do you want to recover? And then the recovery program, it's necessary to stop drinking, but it's not about stopping drinking. It's about not starting drinking. That's what it is. You just don't start ever. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the first off. When you it really struck me as the origins of A Course in Miracles when you said there has to be a better way.
The what?
When you mentioned there has to be a better way, it struck me as when the Course came into play, Course in Miracles, and it was shifting the faith from the way things were to really a mystery. There has to be a better way, and then the co-scribe Bill said there, or Helen said there is, and I'll help you find it. That shift of faith that you mentioned.
Yes. Well, that's the process of the program. So it doesn't follow a mental logic. You'll be there and someone will come who's new and they'll tell you all the reasons why they're screwed. They can't pay rent, they have this and that. And then when they ask you what to do, you say, go to a meeting. It makes absolutely no sense to their head. I've got to get money. I got to do this. But the answer is go to the meeting, because we're not following the mental logic that is infected with alcoholism. Yeah. And so we go contrary to the current, maybe just a little bit. And then we feel another current and a momentum builds. Yeah. Yes. And then you learn you can face life successfully. And in the case of the addict is that you don't use because of something that happened in life. Yeah.
Right.
You walked through it or stood up for it, and that you start learning that you can live in a different manner, because the head has you in like a vice. It says, yeah, the only way to get relief is to do this. And that faith needs to be broken. And you know what? The greatest way to break that faith is having faith in it, because it's not faithful. It's not reliable. Yeah. So if you've had an extreme faith in it and you've survived, you can be thoroughly convinced this is not a reliable mechanism, the selfing. Yes. And therefore you move, your attention goes somewhere else, and then you hit the jackpot. This higher power seems to allow you to face life successfully, where I couldn't do it for a week straight. Now been 37 years. So this work not about it. This is not about maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It works. It does. Someone who has drank for 30 straight years every day, if they go to 3 meetings one day, that day they don't drink. They may go back the next day, but the principle worked that day. And the principle can work 45 years, because the principle outshines circumstances. And
We lost value, Paul. Give us a moment, guys. We'll see if we can get Paul back up. I'm not. Paul and I always seem to have technical difficulties. There we go.
all right, let me make sure I put something on. Oh, you have me again?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody just called. Actually, A newcomer in AA.
Um, so we're not talking about maybe at the beginning where we're white knuckling through our first night of sobriety, maybe even a week, maybe even a month, maybe even a year. We lost Paul again. I think we'll be back up to. Guys, feel free to ask questions that are relevant to the conversation.
I think we're
Sobriety.
on again.
Yep.
I just got another call. That's what's happening. So.
Wow. So you're very active in the recovery movement. You're mentoring.
Yes. Well, these some of the people now, they need more of a drill sergeant. So I'm just on the sideline.
Right. Are
Yeah, they
you
need someone to watch over their movements. I'm not into that
right?
right now.
So you're less of a drill sergeant than you used to be.
I was never a drill sergeant,
No,
but I see that there's value in it for certain people. Yeah,
sure. I
yeah.
was mentioning that. So ultimately, I guess if you're strong enough, you can white knuckle it through life. But what you're talking about here, what you're talking about, the essence of the program is freedom from addiction.
Yes, freedom from self. Yes, yes. The freedom from self. See, the addictions was self trying to be free as self. Yeah,
Right.
and so this is a freedom from the bondage of self. Yes. And then it also affects the addictive nature, but it's really a freedom from that bondage of self. In other words, being seemingly involuntarily adhered to the voices in one's head. Yes, yes,
Do you think there's any way of um, applying the program to the addiction of selfing?
yes, of course. Yes, definitely. The underlying causes and conditions. It's not an ointment for the surface. It goes deeper. Yes.
Right.
So if you see, like when I came into AA, of course I'd sit in the back at these big meetings, and after a few weeks, because people share their thoughts, their feelings, their reactions to life, and after hearing people for a couple of months, I came to two conclusions: how did these people get my thoughts, or they're not my thoughts? And then I really started to see the sharedness of the dilemma, and the dilemma producing an imaginary terminal uniqueness to keep us in a sort of like a cocoon. Like we can see through the cocoon, so we don't know we're in a cocoon. It's like a transparent, but it's a cocoon nonetheless. And when I would be sitting in those rooms, I could feel that terminal uniqueness. Like no one thinks like I do, no one feels like I do, no one's done the heinous things that I have done, and it was all propaganda. Yeah,
Right.
it was all like the magic wand of the mental activity, just keeping me asleep in a sense. And it just started, and then it was wild once I saw alcoholic thoughts. Yeah, because the alcoholism isn't infinite. It doesn't have infinite traits. It has finite traits, and you can see it. You can tell the tree by its fruits after a while. So I started to see swaths of thinking as alcoholic thoughts, and immediately I had some distance between me and that, and some breathing room. And then over the years, it just expanded into none of the thoughts of mine. Yeah. And then there was the relief from being the thinker, and then the thoughts fall in a certain way. They lose their momentum because the thinker is really where the meaning is being given to the thoughts by calling them my thoughts. So that happened in sort of stages as I was staying sober. And then I came to a recognition that self was foreign to us, yeah, like a parasitical movement. And then I just stayed on that since ever since that. Yeah, and so we try to paint a picture for people that something in you is foreign to you, because that's the freedom from it, is recognizing it's not you. You're not going to be free as it. It just it's it has a sort of parasitical nature. For it to win, you've got to lose. Yeah, it's not like a a, a joint merger and everyone does
Right.
well. So I like to paint that picture because you can. This is what happened with me. I was reading page 64, I think. I'll read it now for the people if everyone doesn't mind.
Sure.
So 64, the third paragraph, this had a huge effect on me. So in AA, a lot of times you get asked to do things, and I was leading fourth step workshops in San Francisco. Yeah, I did it for 16 years, I think, a long time. But at this stage, things were just firing. More was being revealed a lot, and because I had a seat assignment, so the fourth step workshop became like satsang really quickly. And this this paragraph was something else. Yeah, it was a distinct shift that I could remember. And so it went. First of all, they tried to present the first working step, the inventory, as a business inventory to combat the extreme personalness. Yeah, that's killing us. And then he goes here, after he describes it as a business inventory, you should get rid of shit that's not selling, and yeah, try to add stuff that will sell. He says, we did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup. Flaws in your makeup doesn't mean they're your flaws. Yeah. Yeah. You
Right.
could have flaws that are not of your origin in your makeup. You have been. Yes. So first, we search out the flaws in our makeup, which caused our failure. So now they're getting to the exact nature of the wrong. Yes. Beautifully, actually. Being convinced. So while doing the inventory, this can happen. Being convinced that self, and convinced means to believe with certainty, being convinced that self, yes, so they target it. This is what caused our failure, self. Yeah. And they're going to make a very described, very, very clear description difference between self and us. Yeah. So being convinced self manifested in various ways was what had defeated us. There it is, right there. Something foreign to us called self is what has defeated us. Yeah. Not selves, self, this idea. It's like a mental system of self centeredness that went overboard. Yeah. Like Hal in 2001. So now this system of self is defeating us through its manifestations. And you can see the openness to the defeat because we call its manifestations our manifestations. Yeah. So now it
Right.
describes some of the common manifestations of self and how they have defeated us. And it says the first one is resentment. Yeah. Now, they don't say my resentment, but most people, when they talk about resentment, they talk about my resentment. It's not your resentment. It's a manifestation of self in your life. Just get clear. Yeah. A resentment, if not acted upon, usually dissipates. And like, let's say someone cuts you off in the highway. If you don't act on it after a couple of exits you've probably forgot. Yeah. But when a resentment gets domesticated and you call it yours, it can live in you for 60 fucking years.
Right.
You're like a incubator for resentments in this head. It's like a petri dish that the head has turned you acidic, and therefore it acidic shit can thrive in there. And the program is going to change our pH from the acidic to the alkaline. Yeah. So you will resentment, you could say, like, you'll refrain from it like a hot flame. You'll start doing it with this kind of shit. You'll realize, if I get pissed and act out on that highway, I'm going to jail probably, because I know what happens when I act out. Consequences ensue. Yeah. So now you start getting weaned off of the parasite, and you start living and start, sucking the teat of the infinite instead of that spoiled rotten milk. So this was very important to me. It happened around 6 years of sobriety.
When you're talking about the parasite, when you're talking about that self, we're just to clarify to people who are in the chat, ultimately we're talking about the ego, right?
No,
No.
no, no, no. The ego, in most people's experience, they believe they have an ego and they're going to try to lose an ego. Who is that has the ego? And who is that wants to lose an ego? That's the sense of self. Yeah. The sense of self is different than ego. Ego to me is an objectification of the mental state by the mental state. Yeah. I don't trust it at all. I have no interest in that. I have interest in the selfing, because the selfing is where life gets claimed by the mental state. Yes. And in that claiming, then even what we made up called an ego is claimed by the mental state. And now you have an ego, my
Right.
ego. Yes. It's this ownership, and that's the bondage to me. Yeah.
So when we address the selfing, then the ego just dissipates.
I don't care about it. I don't know what it does.
Okay.
I don't think it can grow well, because it's projected by the selfing. If the selfing weakens, so does the projections it's doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard you say. Let me see if I can get this correct. Because A Course in Miracles talks about the dream, and then the dreamer of the dream, and you've actually said even the dreamer of the dream is just part of the dream.
Obviously, the dreamt is the appearance of the dream. The dreaming, you and I are giving everything all the meaning it has. Yes. Awareness is not giving meaning to things. Awareness is open space. Yes. The head is giving meaning to things all day. Yes.
Right.
So you and I, as this event, are the dreaming of this dream. We are identified as the dreamt of this dream. And as it says in the Course, you and I are the dreaming of the dream. We forget that. How do we forget that? By remembering ourselves as a dreamt. Yes. And then it says, if that's the condition, now everything you're dreaming has the ability to affect you. So now you have an ass, and that ass can get bitten. Yes. And there we go. So yes, the dreamer uh, is not out of the dreaming. No, obviously not.
So
Aware,
sometimes
not aware. This let's say there's a sense of space or beingness. Yeah, I amness, whatever. That's not giving meaning to anything. It's meaningless. The head here is giving meaning to things. So it can make mountains out of molehills. It does tons of shit all day. Yeah. And one of the meanings it has given a dreamt is that it's the one who's the dreaming. Yes. But that's not the case.
right.
Not the dreaming on a large scale, something much bigger than than giving meaning. but what's giving meaning is not. It's just part and parcel of the dream. Yes, yes.
So we can often carry that addiction over to being addicted to the belief that we are the dreamer. That might be
For sure. Yes, of course. Everyone, if you're above, 2 levels above a coconut, this is a subjective experience we're having here. Yes.
right.
So, in other words, if something was real, it would impose its reality on you, but it isn't. Yeah. So, in Buddhism, it would be seen everything is empty, and therefore, what's empty can be filled with meaning, and that's what we're doing all day. Yeah, the head is. We're not. And there's the meaning that's being given uh, allows that thing that we gave meaning to have an effect on us. That's the dance. Yes. So I don't believe there's a real place called hell, but there can be a subjective hellness. Yes, definitely. And which overrides circumstances and situations. You look like could be on top of the world, but it doesn't matter because your head is, burrowing in up another ass. Yes. So this is a subjective event, truly. And there's the conscious contact, which is the living of it. And then there's an interpretation of that conscious contact, which is the bondage of self. Yeah. So the head, conscious contact, is the spark. Yeah. It gets sparked through the 5 senses, and the head is a sixth sense. Yeah. In that conscious contact, the mental state arises and claims the conscious contact, and it says you are what is in conscious contact. Yeah. And so now the seeing is claimed, and then there's a seer. And then in the interpretation, the seer gets emphasized at the expense of seeing. And then there's hearing, and then it's claimed, and now there's the hearer. And it switches because the hearer, there has to be hearing for the hearer, but there's no need for a hearer with hearing. Hearing does not need a hearer, but the hearer needs hearing. The
Okay.
only way the idea of being a hearer can occur is by claiming the hearing. Yeah. So the head is claiming seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, and doing, and claiming that it's the doer, hearer, feeler, taster, toucher, and thinker. Yes. So it takes an event that you could call a verb and puts a noun in there. And this is the idea of non-duality. That noun verbness that is not true. Yeah. That's why it says not to. You want to talk about one of the couples of the two-ness that it's not that. Yeah. Hearing does not mean there's a hearer. It means there's hearing. That's what it means. There's feeling, tasting, touching, thinking, doing. It doesn't mean there's a thinker, feeler, taster, toucher. In the mental logic, it means that, but it doesn't mean it. Yeah. So now we're living a noun verb system. Yes.
Mhm.
I'm the noun, and there's verbs, and I'm doing shit. Some verbs that I like, sometimes I shouldn't be doing, and on and on and on. And then the head just has a ticker tape day every day, tons of minutia about I shouldn't have done that. They did this, on and on and on. Yes, and it just festers grievance and all this shit.
So I can imagine that there's people in the chat, because I've been there myself. When I hear this and I think, okay, I don't want that. I don't want any of this noun stuff anymore. I want that. I want to. I want to be verbing my way through life.
But that's
Um,
the noun stuff.
right.
So you see that, and you lose interest in its plans of becoming a verb or whatever. You just lose interest in it all because you're clear it can't turn into a verb. Yeah. It's, in a sense, it's already a verb. It's called selfing. It's nouning all the time. But we live as if it's actually a true noun, seemingly. And therefore, uh, we are the doer of the verb. Yes. And it's, of course, it wants to get out of it. That's the biggest part of being in it, is trying to get out all day.
Right.
Have you ever
Um,
stopped and not tried to get out? You may realize you're not in it. This is what happens. So I feel the mental movement is trying to get out of what it's not in and trying to get into what it's not out of. It just goes on, day in and day out. Yes. I don't believe you should waste any time trying to correct it. It's program. It's not AI. It's not growing into an awareness. It's program. Yeah. The program is, when there's a noticing of a verb, claim it and make it and use it to emphasize a noun. The, the mystical shadow becomes the body that you're living from. Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
If I were to rename the live stream right now, I think I might name it that we are the doer of the verb, um, because I really, really like that expression a lot. We are the doer of the verb. Um, so just being aware of that, just that initial realization,
Yeah.
staying with that, and everything else falls into place.
You'll have to find out. Yeah.
Okay.
Some things are already in place. You just don't think so. You think they should be in a certain place, but that's not the case. The
Right.
action figure continues. I feel it has its own. See, it's not. It doesn't get the message. It can express it, but it can't get it because it's already built on a prior message that you're a thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And you're down. That's it. And you have free will and all this and all that. Why fight it? You can actually see it. See, the statement we came in with our group is, if you don't see this mechanism of uh, harvesting a noun out of claiming all the verbs, if you don't see that, you're looking from it. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're looking from it, you're not going to see it. So this is losing interest in it. And then you see more from, let's say, an aware state, and you see what you used to look from, self-centeredness. You see it. Yeah. You go, wow. And then realizing it's not the only perch on this tree. You found another perch. Yeah. Yes. And now you used to see what you used to look from. You're now seeing it. Yeah. So when it's trying to judge everyone else, there's a clear judgment of it as not you. Yes.
Okay.
And then if it ain't you, you're gonna lose interest in it. I'm serious. There's no effort to, you lose
Um,
interest. And then what happens? The interest and attention can be directed somewhere else by something else, and maybe it'll enrich your life instead of enslave you today. Yeah, because you
right.
haven't done enough or this or that. Maybe it will enrich your life. Yeah, but it's going to be driven by faith. And AA says there's only two options. Yeah, trusting finite self or trusting the infinite. Yeah, some people are trying to trust the infinite all the while trusting finite self. Yeah, yeah. So, uh, I truly believe we made a God in our image. Yes, we're not
Right.
made in God's image. The head has made a God out of its image, how the head sees things. Yes. So, yeah, it's just an invitation. It's just an idea. If it gets in, you'll see where it goes. For me, it's the new basis of this life for years. Yes, I haven't. I've been freed from the need to be liberated. Yeah.
Oh, I like that a lot because a lot of people do get addicted to um, the search for liberation, that you know, above all else, this is what I want, and we chase it and we chase it and we chase it. Just another addiction, ultimately, though, right?
It can be. Everything here can be used by what's using it. So, yes, an addiction in the hands of the higher power can be incredibly valuable because you'll be able to identify with other addicts and
Okay.
stuff, maybe communicate. But an addiction being directed by the head could be incredibly pitiful and comprehensible demoralization. It's just basically what's running the show in this action figure world. Because you and I, no matter what we're thinking, we're going to be driven here. Hopefully, driven by grace instead of driven insane by the head. But we're going to be driven. It's very clearly stated in the book. We are driven by 100 forms of stuff. That's the constant condition of the action figure. The action figure is being moved. Yes. Many of us have been moved by the mental state. We played its little checker game thinking it's 8-dimensional chess, and we've had enough of it. Yeah. And after trying to change it or make it better, we saw the futility of it and we lost interest in it. And bammo, we recognized that is the key. Not making it better, not doing this, but losing interest in it. As St. Francis says, it's in self forgetting that you're reborn. Self forgetting is loss of interest. Loss of interest. Yeah.
Could we liken this to how the Course describes turning all of our judgments to the only one that can actually judge, which would be the Holy Spirit, and the Holy
Yeah.
Spirit only judges
You can,
what's true and what's false?
yeah, you can say that because uh, in one hands, everything has value. In the other hands, its value is only to support the system itself, the self centered system. In the hands of the higher power, your greatest defeats are incredibly valuable. Yes, they are. Yeah. It's just what's wielding you. What's wielding you is going to be the effect. When you're wielded by the higher power, you'll see value in almost everything. Yeah. When driven or being moved by the lower power, basically blind. First of all, because you're always in a state of contempt prior to investigation.
Hmm.
Yeah. Same thing with this message. Non-duality is an illuminating factor. There's no path called non-duality, but it will illuminate whatever path you're on. So let's say you're on the path of recovery as the action figure. Non-duality is an incredible illumination of it because it takes the idea of self as an imaginary apparition. That's what it does. It says there isn't one. There's selfing, but there is no self. What an incredible so that adds so much to the solution of recovery, which is please relieve us of the bondage of self. It's saying there can be a great relief because there isn't of the self. Yes, fantastic, let's go for it. So basically it wants to fence off the relief as it comes by claiming it, but if you just don't go with it, the relief will grow it to its own state. Yes. And you'll be incredibly surprised what the relief really is about. Its relief is from the need to be relieved. Yeah. Yeah. Relief is the liberation is from the need to be liberated.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Paul, um, what what place, if any, does or can forgiveness play in this?
Forgiveness.
Yep, and forgiveness as offered by the Course.
Well, there's forgiveness and there's atonement, right? In the
Right.
Course. Well, atonement is that nothing ever really happened. So there's no need for forgiveness. Yes. If
Right.
I remember. So that to me is that's an ultimate answer. Forgiveness is to see if someone was really super greedy, it would be hard to forgive. But when you see there isn't a someone, that there's a forgiveness in that. Yes, just like if you see an addict and they have disappointed you, if you know what addiction is like, there's a forgiveness built in because you know they're not doing it. They're being driven to do it. Yeah. Yeah. So
Right.
forgiveness has its workability, but I think the point is atonement, literally.
Right. We could say for forgiveness is the verb that leads us to the noun. Forgiveness is the action that we take to get to that point where we realize that nothing's actually been done.
But remember, there's no noun, actually.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
There's, uh, we're in a a constant state of verbing. Yeah. So, yeah, it's important to keep on that because nothing becomes a noun here. Yeah. Like there's no one who's enlightened. Enlightenment may, or whatever you want to call it, let's say illumination or awakeness can come through a person, but the person is not awake. Yeah. People have been very frustrated, bummed out when someone they thought was awake does something that they don't think someone awake would do. But
Right.
a person is not capable. It's the action figure is defined as an action figure. It's programmed. Yes, the spirit of us is not. Yeah? That spirit comes through. It doesn't turn into. It doesn't turn into you. It comes through the action figure. Yeah. So there's a lot of people that when I read their books, like when I was young, I read the Don Juan thing, Carlos Castaneda, yes? And then got so much out of it, I felt. And then people went out of their way to say that he was bogus and shit like that, but it didn't matter. First of all, he wasn't. My friend was with him for a couple of years
Oh well.
and with the witches, but it didn't matter. I got a lot out of the book. Yes? This is the whole point. And so the head loves to see the messenger at the expense of the message. But if you've been in AA and you have been willing to help somebody and then something came through that had nothing to do with you to communicate something to that person, you know you're more like a hose here that conducts the water. The water, yes, uses the hose to conduct itself, to go somewhere, to express itself. We are not the water in that. The hose is the hose. I would say we are the water, but the hose ain't. Yes? Yeah. So I don't see that nothing turns into a noun. That's just see when the head looks at like, oh, it can't see a doing without adding a doer to it. So if something happens, somebody had to do it. And if it wasn't me and if it wasn't you, maybe God did. The mental logic is very small. Yes. And
Right.
everything how it thinks is that if there's a verb, there's got to be a noun. And then it switches, it makes the imaginary noun that comes after the claiming of the verb as the beginning point. You start as a noun in this world of verbing. It's freaking insane. This is called non-duality. That's
Right.
non-duality. Recognizing there is no noun that's having the verb experience. There's just verbing.
Just
Yeah.
the verbiage. It reminds me of a line from the Tao Te Ching. There is no doer, yet everything gets done.
Yes, exactly. There is no doer. And it's not like, oh, right now there is no doer, but there was a doer every second before. No, there's never been a doer.
Right.
There's been doing. A lot of doing. Yes. So
I've read I've read that line at a very young age, and it got me in a lot of trouble in school. When did you do your homework?
yes,
There
of
there
course.
is no doer, but
Yeah,
yet
that's
everything gets done.
how the mental logic tries to use non-duality.
Right.
Exactly. Yes. It wants to get an excuse.
Um, the course has a line like that as well. That I need do nothing, and of course they're not talking about the I. they're talking about the I am need do nothing, and yeah,
That's right. That's a good chapter to read because it talks about a life of contemplation, meditation. Inevitably, they'll work because the mind, the big M mind, intends that, but you can save yourself a whole lot of time and arrive at I need do nothing because it's already so that you're hoping to become.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like that chapter. I need do nothing, but that is a recognition of something. It's not a chant. You recognize because you're seeing not from the body mind, the action figure. You're seeing from somewhere else, and from that seeing, the fact is, I need do nothing. Yeah, yeah, but it's not like something you chant every day. I need do nothing. See, if something's chanting, it's not a body. That's the body identification.
Right.
Yeah, everything that's not a body knows it's not a body. It's only we that think we're a body and we're figuring that doesn't seem to be working, so I'm going to chant I'm not a body. That's just reinforcing the body.
Um, and it's an easy thing to get stuck in. Uh,
Well, yeah,
yeah, not
that's why we're here. Warnings are the most important thing in these events. You need to be warned about what the head does when it's confronted with these messages. It reacts and it tries to claim it, and it does super quickly, and you're not going to beat it as it. Yeah, but you are truly before the mental activity. You are the awareness of all the mental activity. So the before is can always affect what comes after. So the head claims mechanically very quickly before when you feel like that's been manufactured. There was a moment of conscious contact that there is no omnipresence knowing of it. Yeah, the head conscious contact happens, the head arises and claims it and puts it into the noun verb dynamic. That's what it does. And what non-duality is saying, not two. That noun verb is not two. It's not. Yes.
does even the I am that Nasaragata mentions is even the I am uh, in danger of being seen as a noun? Is it
Of course. Yeah. It's called Paul now. You're sensing I am right now, but you believe you're sensing Paul. The head has claimed the I am, and now he calls it I am Paul. And what it does is I was Paul, I will be Paul, therefore I am Paul now. That's what it does. It's fast. And so that sense of existence is called Paul, and it's framed as this body. Yes. So the I am has been claimed for sure, or
right?
gets claimed for sure.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people talk about that self dialogue has dropped away when they became um, aware that they are aware, or we could say awakened or enlightened. But what I'm gathering from you is it doesn't matter if the self dialogue continues or if it stops or if it does anything. It's just um, one of the things that is getting done, and it has no basis in the awareness itself.
Yes, because it's an appearance in a much larger field.
Right,
So that appearance is like every other appearance. It comes and goes. But the larger field, it's sort of like the screen in the movie theater. Yes. So the screen in the movie theater, probably the best investment of any movie theater. Buy one screen once, and now that screen can can hold thousands of different movies, all different kinds of movies, with dialogue, with not dialogue. The screen, none of that which is appearing on it soaks into the screen. It doesn't get wet if the movie there's a rainy season. It doesn't get nothing happens to it. That's the space that we are, is that screen. And then there's a projection of a movie going on, which is the dreaming. Yeah. And we seem to be located as one of the dreams. And of course, that location pulls in a lot of interest and attention. And there we go. Yeah. And then you, as many yous, have a certain moment of coronation when you're coronated me. And then there you go. Yes. So there's
Well,
tons of views, there's tons of action figures masquerading as a unique special action figure called me. And so it's sucking in the interest and attention to revolve around that. And the head has gone a little awry, like Hal in 2001. It's taken over the mission. Yeah. Yeah.
um, if I'm wondering if people they hear you talk, um, they hear this conversation, and they think it sounds awful complicated, but it really isn't, right? It's really,
Yeah.
we'd say, relax.
It's very easy. You don't do anything, just listen and see where it takes you. You'll probably go through stages of, it doesn't matter really. But if people that I've watched over the years, they get frustrated because they can't get it, which is a great sign because you can't get it. And they get all this things that knowingly, unknowingly, there's been a reliance on, get very questioned with the message of non-duality. And therefore, you see the emperor many times without any clothes because you've relied on intellect or understanding, and it's not reliable when it comes to what you already are. Yeah. Yes. So there's it frustrates the system. And let's say someone's a spiritual, like a experience junkie, like bliss a lot and everything like that. They're probably going to their head's going to get bored because non-duality gives it nothing. That's it. And there's nothing new in non-duality. You don't, it's not, you can't synthesize it with tantric yoga or anything. It's just what it is.
Right,
It's an invitation to see things, uh, the same things you're seeing in another way, and see what kind of information comes back. Yeah. So, uh, as a career option, it would have been better to have, belts like black belt, red belt, purple belt, have yearly programs, try monthly programs, a lifetime program. But this is nothing. You can't. You are what you're looking for. That's the point. Yeah.
right. That there's a lot of debate, especially right now, whether or not the Course in Miracles is a non-dual path. And what I'm hearing you say is anything can be a path to non-duality
Sure.
um, if you come to that point of surrender, of shifting your faith from the faith in the self, the intellect, into faith in could we say, the absolute or the
Yeah.
infinite?
Well, you don't observe you arrived. You observe you've been placed. Yes. It's a lot of stuff that happens really captures the spirit of recovery, where it says you'll be placed in a position of neutrality with no thought or effort on your part. You'll be brought to something. You'll be harbored. You'll be this. You'll be that. It's almost as if you're a boat and you're going to go where the wind takes you. And I love that kind of view. And it fits well with how I sense non duality. So, yes, be still. AA says, hey, don't struggle, take it easy. Yeah, relax. Uh, yeah. So I don't know. I don't believe you start seeing things from a different location. And therefore, uh, instead of trying to change the things you see from the same location, you see the same things from a different location. And that really works. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So before we get ready to wrap things up, I'm going to see if anyone has any questions that they might want to ask? I know there was a few up ahead. Guys, do you have any questions that you want to ask Paul?
That's great.
I might have to look this up. Someone asked a question, how does lesson 138 of a course fit into this? If you want, I can go over to 138 for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the lesson, but yeah, sure.
And lesson 138 is heaven is the decision I must make. So it sounds like determination, that there's someone that can determine that I am making this decision. I'm making the decision for heaven or
Yeah,
sobriety or for whatever.
yeah. I don't see it that way.
I
But
didn't
I'm
think I
also
didn't think you would.
I'm not I was introduced to the course, and I guess I got what I needed, and there you went. Yeah.
Right.
So no, I don't you know, the language is tricky because the language, if you read certain stuff, it will be everything could be great if you just stop thinking. Yes. So yeah. So there's all these subtle requirements, and it's again, the head uses it to emphasize the you that has to stop thinking, because it's the you that's thinking a lot. Yes, and
Right.
this I don't see it. I see value in it by seeing how it fails. Yes.
Okay.
So
I was gonna
I believe spiritual practices are really meant to fail so that you realize you are what you're looking for. Yes.
okay. Yep,
Yeah.
I can see that. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you that. You said that you were introduced to the course and you guess you got what you needed out of it. What would you think that you got out of it? Was it letting it go?
What I got out of it was I didn't have any need to read the course, let's say.
Okay.
That's one thing. Yeah. I didn't usually when I'm introduced to something, it's like a dance, and then I think both partners move on. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So, yeah. The course triggered a lot of avalanches with me, and I thought it was the best description of dreaming. And and so on and so forth. And a lot of people, when I was first started, they wanted me to speak from the course, but I didn't. I tried it one time, and it was a little too much. Yeah, I'd much rather have a like a dog shit awareness view, which
Sure.
is simple. Yeah. So, uh, but there are a lot of fountains that you can drink of from here. But the
Mhm.
point is, I don't think you're gonna move next to the fountain. You're just gonna, yes, get what you need.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
I, I always liken the course being very holographic. If you get one thing, you can get the entirety of it. And I always specifically point to an introduction when it says nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Here
yeah,
lies a piece of that.
yes, yes. Well, that's a nice when you know, like they say, you read something and the head would like to make it a prescription when it's a description. Yeah, so it says, "I'm gonna prescribe you to do this and that and this and that," and then maybe you'll have that experience of seeing it that way. But it's really a description of how you see things from a certain place. Yeah, and
Okay.
so or, you know, yeah, and there's a big enough platform that it's entertained. Wow, that's another way of seeing something. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, but
Um,
I don't read things as a prescription anymore.
right.
I don't.
Um, we had someone who had asked about synchronicities before and after sobriety. do you feel that there was synchronicities that played through your life that led you?
Oh,
To,
synchronous. Oh, yeah. You have the eyes to see a lot more of that and coincidences when you're in recovery. You see the connective tissue of other stuff that used to be blind around. Yeah. You see a lot of patterns for sure. Yeah, there's not like you're not targeting them, but it's one of the effects I feel.
yeah.
Yeah.
Our friend who had mentioned 138 continues with it and says, in lesson 138, as it continues, it seems to be a choiceless choice that anything besides heaven or reality or verbing is an illusion in duality.
Well, that's the non-duality part. Yes, a choiceless choice. So there is no choice. Yes, because there's only reality. There's nothing else. So where there could only be a choice if there was something else.
Right. Right.
Yes. So a choice. I remember that statement a lot. Choiceless choice. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Krishnamurti had mentioned that as well. The ultimate state of meditation is that choiceless awareness when you're not actually meditating upon anything. You're just the that choiceless awareness, allowing things to come, allowing things to go.
Well, yeah. Well, and that's what you are. Yeah. And when we're something that comes and goes, it seems that comes and goes. But when you lose interest in being something that comes and goes, you'll have more of a sense of it's always, all time. Yeah.
Right.
But that's
Um,
available to the action figure.
right.
Yeah.
And that again strikes me with the introduction, and of course that nothing real can be threatened. Because if it can be threatened, it's changeable, and if it's changeable,
Yeah.
it's part of the illusion, right, or the
Yes.
dream.
Yes. But see, to know that and to sense it are different. Yeah. So to know something about the statement is different than having a sense of it, because the statement is sort of like a bubble surfacing from another larger space. Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully when that bubble pops, you get the sense of that larger space. Yeah.
Um, Paul, we had someone further up in the chat mention guilt, the appearance of guilt. Um, is there wanting to know if there's a specific thing other than just being aware of guilt? And I would think that just being aware of guilt um, might lead to its ultimate release.
uh well, there's no rote answer. Yeah. Obviously guilt is made possible through the sense of doership. Yes, that you shouldn't have done what you did. You should have known better, and all this and all that. And it's just another form of remembering you. Yeah, the you that you're not. And it's that which isn't here now has to really emphasize where you were and where you're going to be. Yeah, because it doesn't really have a mechanism to be here now. So it's basically dwells a lot on past and then projects that into a future. So guilt, shame, pride, all of that are like anchors to keep into that sense of self. Yeah. Yes. So you're not going to, that, it's to me a waste of time trying to convince the doer it's not a doer. It's just seeing it, yeah, from somewhere that's not doing or whatever. Yes,
Right.
and you have that vision. We've never left being ourselves reality, so we can see the appearance from the reality that is so. Yeah, and it brings a lightness to it all. You know, like it says, your response will be, "I need do nothing." So you see the emperor with no clothes. Uh, then the next time you see it with clothes, but you know it has no clothes. Yeah. You don't have to keep seeing it with no clothes. Yeah. Life
Right.
will go back into adorning itself, and but there's a distance now. Yeah, yeah.
Was there any point
Trouble.
for you when you needed techniques, and then at one point there was no need for them any longer?
Yeah, for sure. Well, in the beginning in AA, the Serenity Prayer was incredibly helpful because I felt like there was a runaway train like every 5-10 minutes. The head was very used to having its way. And the Serenity Prayer was it tripped it up a lot. And it's a very succinct, beautiful prayer. Yeah.
Right.
And so that I did a lot. And then, of course, I did the inventories, and I did the 10th step or the inventory for quite a while. And all of that. And until my first few years, when I woke up, I was afraid I was under the old management. And so I would say a prayer. I'd have the first 3 steps in one prayer. I'd say, "Hey, my name is Paul. I'm an alcoholic. I'm powerless against this and that. I have come to believe that something greater than myself can do for me what I can't do for myself, and I surrender myself to the care of that." I'd say that prayer when I woke up until one day I didn't and never said it again. Yeah. So, yes, when there were big holes, stop gaps that was needed. Yeah. But then if you keep using the stopgap when it's not needed, it's a disservice. Yeah.
Okay. I
Yes.
think a lot of people run up hard against uh, admitting that they're powerless. Um, Seems to be a big block for quite a few people. I know some people who have not got involved in the program because the very thought of being powerless was against everything they've ever stood for in their life. And of course,
But that's not them.
right,
That's the head. They're not. They didn't haven't stood up for all this shit. Something stood up for it, and it said, it whispered to us it was us. Hey, if they can make it, fine, fine. If they wanna, it's whatever. It's the way it goes. But the source of power in recovery is admittance of powerlessness. That's it. Yeah.
right.
It's in the admittance of powerlessness that there's an access to a power, an unsuspected resource. And if you notice, uh, you experience powerlessness when you're trying to exert power you don't have. Yeah. You don't experience powerlessness when you admit you're powerless.
Right.
You experience power. That's what happens. So if they want to, stand, die on that hill, so whatever. Yeah.
Sure.
But uh, if you need something and an idea is keeping you from it, I would forego the idea if at all possible.
Right. Or at least maybe examine the idea. Is it serving me?
Yeah, or just go and do what we do, and you'll probably, that insurmountable question might be, you'll forget mostly. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Just
Um,
go, go sit and listen to some other people for an hour at the meeting, and just know that you're being used. It's cool. Yeah, power.
someone would someone wanted to know if you're familiar with Carl Jung's work on individuation, and is there a vast difference between individual and the self? And he finds a vast difference between the individual and the self.
Well, I can't go there. I'm not that familiar with Carl Jung.
Right.
Yeah. Uh, but so I don't know. I can't say anything with any weight concerning that. Yeah.
Um, a lot of times it seems, just different schools of thought um, uses a different term. Course in Miracles calls ego. Someone else calls it a self. Someone
Yeah.
else might call it an individuation. But it all boils down to all of it ultimately um, just part of the dream, right?
Yes, I would say. I don't think it's dreaming. There's not a thing called
Dreaming.
dream.
Right.
It's dreaming, yeah. So
Exactly.
because dream would seem like you could, if you start saying it's dream, then someone will make up there's an address to the dream,
Right.
4,000 square feet. I just rather keep it dreaming. So
When as soon as they said dream, I realized that I just nouned it, uh, and I was gonna backtrack and verb it up a bit.
yeah, but I that's the way I see it. I don't see that there's any noun really here.
Right.
Yeah,
All right.
it changes.
Um.
It changes. Obviously, if you were um um in a giant swath of verbing, yeah, and then part of that verbing stopped and called itself a noun. Now all the verbing would be given direction based on that noun location. So now shit could be seen as it's fucking with me and this and that. You realize how much meaning is gauged based on the location, yeah, of this action figure. We're getting a manufactured trance-like interpretation because we see things from a noun point of view. When you see things from a verb point of view, it changes a whole lot without any effort. Yes, yes. Or it will show you the effort of looking at things from a noun point of view, and you'll realize the pointlessness, and a lot of stuff will drop. Yeah, and you'll just travel lighter, a day at a time, as this action figure. Yeah,
Right.
I that's what most people. If you could give them a taste of that, and then their ideas of how it should look if I'm traveling lighter will be gift drop, and you'll just travel lighter a day at a time here. And in a sense, what more do you want as the figure? Because it can travel very. I mean, this is a subjective experience, and the difference between heaven and hell is emphasis. Really, emphasis. Being emphasized can make something hellish, and when what's being emphasized can make something heathenish. Yeah,
Right.
and do you want to live from a self-centered perspective all day? It's fucking exhausting. Yeah.
It is for sure. I
So
heard you say earlier in the chat that you don't believe in a hell, but we can certainly experience hell conditions.
for sure, most definitely, look at it. See, there's a statement in Zen, and I think they missed a stanza, but I feel it's a very good one. It says, "First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, and then there's the
And there
mountain."
is. Right.
Yeah. So there's we see some kind of obstacle and shit like that, and we believe that obstacles stopping us from stuff. So we want to get rid of that obstacle. So first there is the mountain, then there is no mountain. We did all this work and now there's no mountain. Yeah. Clear sailing ahead, but inevitably the mountain reappears again. Yeah. What non-duality does is starts at a different position. The first position is first there is a mountain. Non-duality starts with first there is no mountain, and then there's a mountain, and then the mountain disappears, and then it appears again. And your reaction to its disappearance and its appearance will be completely different based on where you started from. Starting from first there is a mountain is going to have a completely different effect than starting from first there is no mountain. Yes, this is the point. Non-duality sheds light from light. It starts at light and sheds that light. Yes, it's not borrowed light. It's not battery charged light. It's light. Yeah. And its light is first there is no mountain. Yes. So everything changes from where you start. Yeah. And most of us are starting as an existent thing, when in fact, as Ramana Maharshi says, the existent thing is a non existent. Yeah. And that non-existent thing, the head takes to be an existent thing because it mixes the existence up with the thing when the thing is non-existent. And then that non-existent thing, now being an existent thing, wants to get salvation for itself. So what happens? It starts practicing spirituality. Those spirituality is now reinforcing the mistake of being the non-existent thing. As an existent thing, how can they so
Right.
your spiritual practices are reinforcing something that isn't true. You're trying to get out of something you're not in. So this is the point. So when you see that, yes, you when you see the seeker is the sought, that may provoke a loss of seeking, and then you'll see the nakedness of the emperor, because the seeker needs the act of seeking to keep projecting that image. When the seeking stops, you'll see the nakedness of the seeker. It's not you. Yeah. So
It's sort of like the in Zen, instead of being concerned about what happens after death, they flip it back and who were you before you were born? Who were your parents
that,
before you were born?
that- exactly. You want a German Shepherd, the mental logic. You want to fucking speak. You'll see how insane it is from the outside.
Right.
It's insane. And so these things just it can't understand. And basically it can't understand a lot, but it will not admit it. So it will say it knows a lot of shit it can't understand. Yeah. So then you lose interest in relying on that. And then you lose interest in relying on this. And what you find yourself relying on is the higher power, the Holy Spirit, let's call it. Yeah. And
Right.
what is the Holy Spirit? The Holy Spirit is take the and we can have 5 minutes here. So Course in Miracles, one of my favorite statements is the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. That's all you need to know. And it says you should be sure of it. So the brain interprets to the body of which part. Yes? So the Holy Spirit comes in and the brain's taking all this information, yeah, and it's interpreting it to the body. So it's your life, you're this, you're that. The Holy Spirit's taking the same information, but it's not interpreting it to the body. Yeah. So instead of just one GPS, there's another GPS, and that's the Holy Spirit. Yeah. And the Holy Spirit's take on the same data, the same information is completely different than the brain's take. Yeah. You may want to unsubscribe and subscribe to the Holy Spirit's newsletter, because it's going to be much more enlivening and bringing you into a state of contentment and satisfaction and feeling fucking okay, instead of the constant mental forecasting of the previous GPS. Yeah. So the
Oh,
Holy Spirit taking exactly what we're seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and touching, and thinking, and collating and translating it in a different manner. You're getting a whole new view of what's happening. And mostly what you get a view of is what's not. You see what's happening with what you're not. Yeah. From what you are. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Paul, I think you just gave away 365 lessons in A Course in Miracles and a 770-page text. Unsubscribe from uh, what was the first thing? Unsubscribe from, you didn't say ego, but unsubscribe from
Self.
the
Selfing.
selves. Yep.
Self.
Um, and their newsletter, and subscribe to the Holy Spirit's newsletter. It's really as simple as that. I don't know. I love the line in A Course, lesson 25. I don't know what anything is for. I don't.
Yeah.
But the Holy Spirit will repurpose everything
Yes.
for uh, just for God, for a higher power, for a higher whatever we
it tells you as it sees it, and as it sees it is not how we look at things.
Right.
Yeah. So looking is not seeing. Looking is a manufacturing from seeing turned into a way of looking. A way of looking is a form of blind seeing. Yes. Yes. All right. I think it or what?
Yep. Can we give you one more question and then we'll end it for the day?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Um, friend came in and says, "Is existing and not existing the same thing? Is it the same? How does existing exist?"
Who knows? I'm thinking about a bagel right now.
All right. Um,
Breakfast. Yeah.
Paul, I appreciate you taking the time, and we did almost an hour 40 minutes with zero technical issues between us. That's pretty
Oh,
amazing.
usual. Yeah. Well, we broke through this. There's always a scrambling event, but then if you stay true, you break through.
We
Yeah.
break through, and we did.
Yeah. Great.
Um,
Thank you.
thank you, my friend.
And thanks for everyone here. Thank you. I didn't see anyone. But yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to sit together with us. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Take care, and hopefully we can do this again someday.
Yeah. Just call me and yeah.
I will. Thanks.
Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.